Hello, welcome to Star Wars Takodana Talk with your host, Luke Davis. Today, I wish to talk about one of my favorite emo space wizards from Star Wars, Kylo Ren. Now specifically, I will talk about Kylo Ren's endless struggle with self-talk and low self-esteem. I will use the book ICOM, Interpersonal Concepts and Competencies, as my guide through this video, and I will focus on Chapter 2 of the book. When we first meet Kylo Ren in Star Wars The Force Awakens, he is trying really hard to show how cool he is. He's wearing a mask to be like his grandfather Vader and to strike fear into his enemies. However, one thing the audience notices is that he also uses the mask to hide the fact that he is conflicted by the pull of the light.
I feel it again, the pull to the light.
Kylo Ren many times sits alone trying to convince himself that he is evil. The book states, an important function of self-talk is to help you process who you are. And this is what Kylo Ren is exactly doing, telling himself that he's on the dark side now. But the voice, which is Ben Solo, is always there trying to get back out and be the good guy. This is where Kylo's conflict comes from. Deep down, he still feels love for his family and the light side, but he wishes he didn't. He feels if he can completely cut himself off from the light, then he will finally be free from his conflict, as he will fully embrace the dark side. This ties in perfectly to the book when it says, think of the inner struggles you often have concerning whether you will believe something, will take a particular action, or will make a certain decision. So, when Kylo eventually has his fated encounter with Han Solo, his father, he has the hardest choice of his whole life in front of him. He still feels a love for him despite the fact that he feels Han Solo neglected him as a father. But Kylo keeps telling himself that if he can end his connection to his family, he can be free of his pain and his inner conflict.
I want to be free of this pain.
In one of the most tense scenes in all of Star Wars, Kylo Ren really doesn't want to kill Han Solo, but because of his inner belief, he goes against how he feels and makes the fatal decision to kill his father. Cut to the next movie, The Last Jedi. Did Kylo's choice to kill his father help his pain? The answer is a big fat no. In the opening scene, Kylo Ren bows before his master, Supreme Leader Snoke, and Snoke immediately senses that Kylo's heart is split in two over his decision, and that he still has too much of his father's heart in him. Kylo's only response to this is,
I killed Han Solo.
Still using self-talk to try and convince himself that he is fully on the dark side now, despite his pain being even worse than it was. Instead of feeling more powerful now, Kylo Ren keeps using self-put-downs, which the book explains are called psychological vultures. The book says that the psychological vulture attacks a person's perceived weaknesses and attacks the person's self-worth. Kylo Ren feels lost. He feels he can't go back to the light side because he feels he's too far gone. But he also can't seem to ever please Snoke, so he doesn't know what to do. While all these psychological vultures are attacking Ren's mind, he builds a connection with Rey through the Force. Rey and Kylo seem to understand each other as they both feel lost, not knowing their places in the galaxy. Kylo feels the need to destroy the past with Rey's help.
You're nothing. But not to me. Join me.
But eventually, when Rey won't join him on the dark side after he kills Snoke, he learns he has to make the journey to the dark side alone, despite his feelings for Rey. Flash forward a year later, when we meet him in The Rise of Skywalker. Kylo is everything he ever told himself he wanted to be. He's the most powerful being in the galaxy, and he's fully embraced the dark side, but he feels empty inside. He longs for Rey to join him on the dark side, but she tells him she will only take Ben's hand, not Kylo's. Ren's self-esteem is at an all-time low, but he keeps telling himself that he can't go back to the light because of all the awful things he's done. Kylo tries desperately to convince Rey that she too has the dark side in her and that she belongs with him.
You can't go back to her now. Like I can't.
And everything escalates to a huge epic lightsaber duel between the two of them. The battle is brutal. Raw emotions from both characters is clearly seen as each character wants the other to join them on their side of the Force. Everything changes when General Leia Organa, Ben's mother, sacrifices herself, reaching out in the Force to Ben so that he can feel his mother's love again. Kylo is shocked, stops fighting, trying to process what just happened. Rey stabs him, but quickly regrets that and instantly heals him with the Force. Rey explains to Kylo that she really wants to be with Ben, but not Kylo. Rey leaves, leaving Kylo and Ben to struggle with who they are. One thing I love that the book says in the self-esteem section is, we can choose to accept the past as the past and be responsible for who we are now and tomorrow. This is exactly what Kylo does when he has his very powerful scene between himself and the memory of his dad. He accepts that his dad loved him despite all the terrible things he did, and once and for all he casted off the persona of Kylo Ren and became Ben Solo again. He would go on to help Rey save the galaxy, and he would ultimately sacrifice his own life to save hers, as Ben Solo redeemed himself through raising his own self-esteem and by not letting his past define him. Thank you.